The first two properties we're going to take a look at with our light are color and intensity. Now, incidentally, these are also two of the most basic and easy to use properties in all of lights.
And all of the lights have them.
Yeah, all of the lights have access to these. If we click on the color swatch, we get our little color chooser window, and this is about as basic as you can get. We just choose the color that we want, and it gets applied to the light. Now, if we close this and jump down to intensity for just a moment, intensity is going to allow us to control the overall strength of the light. By default, this starts off at 1, and we can crank this up and get a really painfully bright light, which is funny because it's something about like when you bring it up real slow like that, I feel like I should be squinting at the screen. But I did want to mention that if you're working with your color has an effect on intensity. As you start to take the value of your light down, i.e. make your light darker, you are affecting that intensity. Now, you can cause the two to work against each other. You could create a very dark red light, and then you could boost up your intensity, and now you go to a very brilliant red light, as you can see here. But do keep in mind that if you want to control the overall brightness of your light just with intensity, to make sure you're using full valued colors when you're choosing the color for your light. Now, I tend not to do that. I like to use both of the values together. Like, I'll choose a basic intensity that I think is looking pretty good, and then I'll fine-tune it with the color. So if I think the light needs to be just a tiny little bit darker, then I'll just take my color and bring it down a little bit. And I like to think of that like a fine-tuning knob. So a very quick video, but there's really not much to say about it. This is where you go to change the color of your light. I will throw this out there. Remember, or try to remember, unless you absolutely know you need them, never to use a plain Jane white light. In most cases, in realistic environments, your light is always going to have some kind of a cast to it, some sort of a color.
Right. Even in the real world, if you look at a plain white light bulb, it is usually has what is known as a color temperature.
Right.
They're either slightly shifted to a warmer color, a red or a yellowish, or to a cooler color like a bluish tinge to it.
Right. A lot of fluorescent lights have a little bit of a bluish cast to them. Sunlight can take on a bunch of different values depending on the time of day, depending on the cloud cover, that sort of thing. Just keep that sort of thing in mind, because I have found just in lighting, not only in games but also in 3D animation, that using that plain white light can lead to your scenes looking pretty boring. And you don't have to get very intense with it. It can be just the tiniest amount of color making all the difference in the world.
Right. Subtle color changes is key. You don't have to get heavy-handed and go all the way to the other end of the spectrum, because then the light becomes unrealistic looking for the opposite reason.
That's right.
Lights usually have just a subtle effect to them.
That's right. And that will wrap things up for this video. Thanks for watching.